There seems to be an increasing split in the investor community between regulated and unregulated, and that could again be a boost for Guernsey and Jersey, where there's a view of a specialisation in unregulated structures or lightly regulated structures. I suppose the simplest answer is that it's our clients who've come to us and asked us to open up jurisdictions in those jurisdictions. Luxembourg, for example, where we opened up last year, we had 6 clients come to us and say they would like to consider using us for existing work in Luxembourg because of the quality of work we've been able to do for them here in Guernsey. So I'd say it's our clients who are driving it.
It's essentially because most of the products are a pan-European product. So, for example, opening up in Luxembourg makes absolute sense, where you've got a structure that has a Luxembourg holdco. It all supports the whole substance scenario. So it just makes sense from the actual governance point of view.
I do think there is a huge opportunity in terms of transporting the experience and the existing infrastructure of those who've got mainstream operations here in Guernsey into some of the new emerging jurisdictions, and certainly, I count ourselves in that fact. So I think we see it being a positive complement to what we do. Does it have a defensive element? Being honest, yeah, I think it's we want to continue to look after our clients' interests.
That there are a lot of issues out there that still are yet to be resolved, and the third country issues is going to be particularly difficult to see how they can come up with a compromise, given that the Parliament text and the Council text are coming from completely different perspectives. The Council text is national private placement, and the Parliament text is a third country passporting regime. But if you look at what each of those texts say, I'm not sure that the implications for Guernsey are necessarily negative. If you look at the Council text, which is private placement with some additional disclosure and a few other requirements, well, Guernsey has no issue with that, so that effectively preserves the market access we've got. And if you look at the criteria that are in the Parliament text, which is, money laundering standards in line with FATF, well, we are currently undergoing an AML-CFT review by the International Monetary Fund. We're reasonably confident that we're going to come out with a very good result from that, so that should not present an issue for Guernsey. OECD information exchange agreements, well, we're OECD whitelisted. We've already got tiers with most of our major trading partners, so again, that's not going to present a barrier. Equivalent market access, well, if there is a problem with market access into Guernsey, that can be resolved. And cooperation agreements, well, our regulator is a signatory to the IOSCO Multilateral Memorandum of Understanding, and we can certainly, and I know that they are committed, that if additional requirements are necessary, then we'll meet that challenge. So, on an objective basis, just looking at the two different texts, both of which are things that I think Guernsey is well placed to deal with.
But just to make clear there, the whole ethos is taxation of the provider and not the product. So essentially the idea is to make sure that our existing product range remains tax effective, and the Treasury Minister has clearly said that they were aiming to protect the funds industry, and there's a lot of precedent around Europe for that.
In terms of the equivalence versus a private placement, we would, from my understanding, tick a lot of boxes, and you've been through them. First of all, we are on the white list of a number of large international organisations. We've got a number of tiers, the exchange agreements. We've got a number of MOUs, memoranda of understanding, with a number of regulators, including the French regulator. So without wishing to be complacent, and whilst recognising that there is always a risk when there's an attack on a segment of the business, we are not in the same situation as we were initially when the spectre of the AIFM first came out and we just knew very little about it. It is scary because it's an attack on us. I think we are going at it the right way, which is there's no point us going on the back foot, but it is an education exercise to say we are not some far-flung tin pot offshore jurisdiction where whatever you want you'll get. However, we do offer a degree of flexibility, and coming back to what Mark was saying about our registered or self-certificated products, whereby it is not an unregulated product, but it is our regulator which is relying on the quality of the service provider to warrant to the regulator that the product and service providers continue to comply with the Guernsey regulatory regime. So all that put together is very much our armament to deal with the AIFM, to actually try and explain that we are not the target of what the political pressures, primarily from France and Germany, have had in mind, which is very much to get rid of the far-flung offshore jurisdictions. Completely.